Hello, this is Miles of Otyugra on behalf of Otyugra Media for the Otyugra monthly report. Today we're going to be talking about what the team has been up to from May 15th to June 18th because this video is a little bit late. At the time of the beginning of this 30-day segment, we were working towards a new deadline, which was basically an extended version of the previous deadline, which we did not meet. It was a big surprise to us that we had yet again, prior to May 15th, failed to meet this older deadline, and it really got us thinking about how serious it is that we get better at that. So with the need to do the things that we weren't able to do then, we decided that we would extend this with a very important aim to really work on directly our ability to meet deadlines. And it meant that the 30-ish days that we gave ourselves was very stressful for us behind the scenes, and it meant that the many things that we were ambitiously trying to get done at the time was a big challenge, but it made us work very hard to attain those things, and it was some of our finest work. At the beginning of May 15th, right around then, a couple days later, I had moved out of my parents' house in Florida and moved to my home state of North Carolina to live with my aunt and uncle. Actually, I moved into somewhere as a middle place, which is my sister's house. And I don't get along well with my sister, so that was actually very unfortunate. I did not really enjoy myself those couple days I was there. And I can't say that it hindered my work too much, but moving from one house to a second to a third certainly did become disruptive. And then when I did finally come here, having to unpack things, that was disruptive. And having to help my uncle out at his place of work and having to apply to jobs is very much something that has been keeping me busy. Interestingly enough, for every hour that I wasn't able to get them on time in the allotted time that I set for myself each day, I was able to retroactively make up that time and work overtime these last couple of days. It's made it so that, the struggles that I've had to get enough work done by my own standard, I was able to recover. But around the time that I was moving from one house to the second to the third, my partner Trevor, his mother died. It was something that he had been anticipating. It was something that nevertheless really, really, really hurt him. And it took him somewhere between 8 and maybe 11 days to mourn and to sort out his feelings. And so he needed time off from work, which I was very happy to give him, obviously. But when he came back, our fortunes changed. But prior to that, I was struggling to get much done because he wasn't there, and just the very fact of him leaving and me being alone was very demotivating, as well as the struggle of moving places and the topsy-turviness of my life. Him, suddenly, very, very suddenly, having to stop everything disrupted our plans to do this huge, big event. That all fell apart. So what happened instead was I kept my own promise to keep working on the things that I was supposed to work on for the deadline. But because of the circumstance, the very special circumstance, I was not able to meet it. And this time around, I don't think it was because of incompetence. I think this one was purely because of crazy circumstances happening in the last minute. But I was able to get done almost everything. Very many mechanics that are very big and complicated, and add all of that into the game successfully and to debug whatever problems that I came across. For the most part, I think there was maybe one that I said, I'll get around to it another time. And it was kind of stressful, but also felt really good to have accomplished that. And these are mechanics, by the way, that are a very big part of the whole experience of the game. These are crucial mechanics that give the game its identity in some ways. So then when he came back, as I said, our fortunes changed. He was very much ready to get back to work, which I was impressed by, that he can bounce back so well like that. And so we essentially returned to the things that we had left to do that was supposed to be done because of his absence that he wasn't able to do. In other words, I began assisting him on things that were previously assigned to him. Writing stuff, in other words. We decided that we were going to write the first approximately 1/7 of all of the writing and all of the choreography and designs and places and level designs and all of that like all together to try to do that all at once in chronological order. I'm not so sure if that's the best way to do things, but it's what feels natural to us, so it's what we do. I split my attention between more programming, which has gone really well for me as of late, as opposed to having to solve bugs and weird problems and malfunctions with the game. I've instead had the luxury of adding new content and new mechanics that the very first time around worked perfectly, and I had no problems with it. I could just like, okay, great, now I can move on to the next thing that I want to add. And it's meant that these last approximately 2 weeks have been really productive and really pleasant for me behind the scenes. And to give you an idea, I've been adding items to the game. That's a pretty big aspect of gameplay, is like the many different items that are in a game, picking up items, the details of how they spawn in places and how you collect them and how you can arrange them and do things with them in your inventory. I was saying that it's kind of unthinkable to imagine a roguelike that has no items whatsoever, and it's just the sword that you have. Maybe, like in a cutscene somebody gives you a new sword because it's not technically an item, and then it's like pretty much like the full extent of like things that are omnipresent or just anywhere within the game. So when you think about it, like items are such a massive part of gameplay in a roguelike, especially our game. So when I say that I spent a lot of time like adding that, is just one of a handful of things that I've added lately. I hope that gives you a really good sense of just how much I've gotten done, even if the progress that I've made is not very visual in particular. I'll be posting a screenshot soon enough of the new menu that houses the items and of items spawning all across the map. I think the whole idea of like going after them, I think that really incentivizes the player to do stuff like run into an enemy or have to make that kind of decision. The game now allows for the player to have more opportunities to really think about one option versus another now that items are there that you can go get them. And that's to say nothing about like using items in combat and that sort of thing. So I think maybe if I was to show you guys GIFs of the new added things and that weren't there before, I think you would see very concretely like the big difference that it's made and how much farther the game's come along, and see firsthand why I'm so like excited about this. So as I said, I've been splitting my attention between adding a couple things in programming and assisting Trevor with all kinds of different aspects of writing the beginning parts of the game. And it's caused a little bit of fighting with us, but it's also been a lot of fun because we've had opportunities to get off into tangents and to discuss big picture things that are really exciting and really give us a bigger grasp of like the whole game and not just the assignment in question. That we've had a chance to learn more about the characters through discussions and more about what it would take to have like a joined singular vision for the game, and discovered new mechanics that we want to add for parts of the game and that sort of thing. And all that has been a lot of fun just discussing it, him and I. So yeah, it's been, overall, I think it's been, if not necessarily super productive, more productive than ordinary. I'd like to think ordinarily we're productive as it is. But if not that, then I would say that it's been a lot of fun. It's been motivating, I guess, and pleasant in the way I would always hope it would be, when you go into game development. So I want to take a moment to, I guess, say that things are going really well in that aspect, in that we're just as determined as we've ever been to keep making our game, even when life gets in the way, when you have to move 2 times in less than a month, or when your mother dies and all that. We're still really going for it. We hope that we can get this game out in time for February, as I keep saying. But who knows, at this point, it could even be January, or it could be March. I don't know. The time will tell. I'm really hopeful that as time goes by, that our hard work will really show that we can keep 2 deadlines, and that we can be trusted, and that the game doesn't keep getting pushed off, and it's coming, and it's getting closer, man. I really think that it is, and I think that the failure that we have in the past have really made it so that we can push through barriers that we could before, and that the game is quickly becoming a full game that just plain doesn't have the art assets and the music in it yet, you know? And so it might not look too special, but I'm telling you that you got to stick around just a little bit longer, and I promise it'll get really great. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.